Justin. Last time you guys played Ohio State, they got you guys pretty handedly. What do you remember from that game, and is there anything you could take away from it leading into this one?
Yeah, that was a while ago. I remember a little bit from the game. Their physicality, their toughness, they're well coached. They have a lot of experience. A couple of guys that were on that team are still playing for them now. So we have a lot of respect for them. We know how great of a team that they are. A lot of great players, starting at the top and then going all the way down. So we have a lot of respect for them. We know it's going to be a battle.
Mike Sealski from the Philadelphia Inquirer for Caleb and Justin. Jay talks a lot about the Big East being a basketball-first conference and, you know, Villanova obviously being a basketball-first school. When he recruited you guys, how much did he, like, drive that point home? You know, if you were considering maybe going somewhere else or looking at a bigger school, like, you know, Ohio State has an incredible football program. Was the fact that Nova was a basketball school, did that matter to you, and did Jay talk about that in your recruitment a lot?
Justin, you can go ahead and start that.
To be honest, he didn't really mention much about it being a basketball school. It's more about the program and how much they care about our guys and making us great on the basketball court and also off the court. So it was mainly about that.
Caleb, you want to add to that?
Yeah, pretty much just piggybacking off what Justin said. He just primarily focused on, you know, how tight the guys are and how much of a family environment it is. He didn't really push a basketball agenda. It was just mainly on us just being together as brothers.
Mike Jensen, Philadelphia Inquirer. For each of you, obviously the goal is to get better as it goes along, but you go to Marquette in early February and you lose by 10. You'd already lost the game in Creighton and that Baylor game. You haven't been out of a game since. What had to get better at that point from an X and O point of view?
Caleb, why don't you go ahead and start?
I feel as if it was more than just an X and O's point of view. It was just more of us just staying together throughout the entire game. We just wanted to be tougher down the stretch for each other and just stepping up for each other and making plays when they mattered.
Colin?
Yeah, like Caleb said, we just had to continue to do what we were supposed to do throughout the entirety of the game. I think sometimes we got a little rattled, if you want to say, and kind of got out of character and lost focus on what we were supposed to be doing. So I think just what Caleb said, staying together for 40 minutes, knowing that there's going to be ups and downs, and just maintaining a great attitude throughout the entire game.
Justin?
Yeah, basically just sticking to our habits. Resorting back to our habits that we build in practice is going to help us succeed in those games and still being tough and making physical plays offensively and defensively.
Colin Beasley from the Villanovan. Less than a week ago, Jermaine couldn't walk enough to go through a walkthrough, and then all of a sudden yesterday he was everywhere. He was diving into tables, getting offensive rebounds, all that. How much does his hustle show to the younger guys, and were you guys ever in doubt that he'd be able to get to full speed?
Colin, you want to start that?
No. That's just who he is as a player and as a person. He never wants to let anybody down, especially us as teammates and as coaches. So I think we know that he's been in those situations before. I mean, he played last year with a broken pinky the entire year, and the year before he had a foot issue that he was dealing with. So he'll do whatever it takes to be out there with his teammates and his coaches, and he'll give his body up for us. And then you know that he's always going to just find a way to play, no matter what it is or what's going on with him. But I think that's what's special about him, is that he's a team-first guy. He's so unselfish, and you could really rely on him to just go out there and do whatever is asked of him.
Adam Jardy with the Columbus Dispatch. Question for Colin. As you look at Ohio State's backcourt, what do you see as in some of those matchups? You guys seem to have a size advantage on them. What do you make of some of those matchups and maybe like Malachi and Jamari and those guys?
Yeah, they're experienced. The freshman is younger, but Wheeler's been in college for 4 or 5 years. I think he was at Penn State for 3 years. So they're an experienced group. They've been in a lot of college basketball games, and even Bradham has been in a ton of games now throughout his first year. So it's gonna be a battle. They're great players, and we're gonna watch more film when we go back. But we know a little bit of their tendencies now just from watching personnel this morning and kind of going over some of their film.
Tristan Freeman from Fanside Best in Brackets. For Caleb, when you transfer over from Tulane, there's obviously a transition process that goes to sort of fit in with the system. How was it for you playing with Colin and Justin as well with the Villanova guards? Was it ever a rough transition for you to sort of fit into the scheme and the role, or did Coach Wright help make it easy for you?
I felt as if it was never really a rough transition. With guys like Colin and Justin, they made it very smooth for me. Obviously, it took me a while to get adjusted to a couple of things, but they welcomed me with open arms. They always, try to correct me if I was making a certain mistake, seeing how I should read things and whatnot. And also, Coach just coached me pretty hard throughout the process, and I'm still, developing and growing as a Villanova basketball player. But they've done a really good job throughout my journey here.
Colin Gay, Rivals. For any of you, I'm curious, a lot of Ohio State's offensive game plan kind of revolves around, say, E.J. Liddell and Malachi Branham. And I'm curious about, does that kind of, do you guys focus in on those two guys, or kind of how does that kind of affect your defensive game plan when it's kind of revolving around just two main players, and especially, say, E.J. Liddell?
Justin, you want to start that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously those two guys are, you could say, one of the main guys that really score the ball for them and are aggressive. But we also got to take away their three-point shots from the other guys, too. The other guys make plays as well, and when other guys are making plays besides them, they're a really great team and very explosive. So we got to be able to contain all of them, but also pay attention to those two guys.
Colin, you want to add to that?
Yeah, like Justin said, EJ and Malachi are definitely two of their more dominant ball handlers, guys who have the ball in their hands. So you got to be able to focus on those guys, but also try to take away the other things that the other guys also do. They have a lot of experience. Kyle Young's been there for so many years, so he's able to have the ball in his hands and make decisions as well as Key and the other guards, Wheeler as well. So they're an experienced group, and they have a lot of depth.
Matthew Ryan with City of Basketball Love. For all three of you guys, obviously yesterday Loyola only scored 41 points. Ohio State's been a very good defensive team. What are some of the keys going to be to, breaking that defense and being able to score, like as Loyola, I think, went into halftime with 19 points, getting off to a hotter start?
Caleb, you can start that.
I think one of the main keys is just all of us just being a playmaker. Like we've been throughout the season, they play Colin and Justin pretty hard throughout. So if we all just make plays and just be aggressive and be on attack for 40 minutes, I think we have a really good chance.
Colin?
Yeah, like Caleb said, everybody's just got to be a playmaker, catching the shoot first, and then getting a lane, jump stop, and pivoting, and taking what they give us. They might deny guys, no matter how they play us. I think we just have to play off our concepts and our habits.
Justin?
Yeah, like they both said, just catching the shoot, moving out the basketball, get them moving a little bit, taking what the defense gives us, and making an extra pass.
Jerry?
Jerry DePaul, Pittsburgh Tribune Review. Colin, I was wondering, curious about your reaction as you were watching Ohio State's defensive effort in real time yesterday, and then again as you start practicing against it. What's your reaction to it?
I didn't see it yesterday because it was right before our game, so we were preparing for Delaware, who we played yesterday. So I was able to see a little bit after our game, and just from the film that they had showed us throughout their year and the film of the Loyola Chicago game. But they pressure the ball. E.J. Liddell is inside. Kyle Young, they block shots, and they do a really good job of just getting in you, kind of forcing you to drive. And then those guys are in there, and they block shots. So they're physical, and they're tough on the defensive end.
Johnny McGonigal, Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. That's for Colin. You mentioned Wheeler being at Penn State. I think there was some overlap with Dwayne Anderson being there. Does that help at all? Is there familiarity there, or not really because it's been a minute?
I know that they know each other, but Dwayne really hasn't talked to us much. He was also messed up yesterday, so I haven't really seen it. He's kind of just been laying up in his room. But I know they do know each other. They said hello like right before we went out yesterday. But we know of him through the film, and I'm sure Dwayne will have some insight when we get back.
Any other right over here.
Real quick, Colin, have you guys seen Dwayne? How's he doing? Like, did you know, was it bad on the bench? Did you talk about it at the team dinner last night? Like, what's kind of the reaction been to his injury?
Nobody really knew what happened. Like, he tried to catch Jermaine, and after he looked fine, and then he was kind of just bleeding from his nose, and they stood him up and walked him out, and we got to see him when we were coming in here yesterday before the interviews, and he said he was okay, and he's a tough dude. So he said he played in the old Big East, so he's fine, and he's just getting better, taking some rest.
One of the questions coming into the season for you guys was going to be the interior play, because potentially with the potential lack of size that you guys had on paper. How much emphasis was it put on as guards when it comes to helping with inside defense and pressure defense from the outside from Coach Wright this year?
Justin, you want to start that?
Yeah, being a Villanova guard, you always got to be able to get down low and help out the bigs. And pressuring the ball is one thing we really focus on, not letting them get easy touches. And denying the post when we get switched onto the bigs, and being physical and tough and chesting them and not getting easy looks at the paint. I think that's something we really focus on as being Villanova guards.
Colin?
Yeah, like Justin said, just try and help those guys out in whatever way we can, whether it's ball pressure, whether we're in there and moving in the post, trying to make it difficult for those guys to catch it. But just being solid, playing tough, being physical, and playing off our concepts. These two guys are bigger guards that can guard in there, and they're physical and they're bigger, so they do an incredible job when they get in there, just being tough and making it hard.
Caleb, you want to add anything?
They covered it all.
Right over here.
The Big East went 3-3 in the first round of games. Are you guys following the other teams in your league any closer than the other teams in the tournament? And do you feel any more pressure as the standard bearer of the Big East?
Caleb, why don't you start that one?
I feel as if like we're not really focused on other games and whatnot. Yeah, we may see the games, but we don't let those games affect us. We just focus on what we do, and we locked into each other.
Colin, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I mean we've seen the other Big East games and other teams that are playing, and if there's a game on, you might turn on the Big East game just because you know those guys pretty well, and yeah, I mean we feel like we play in one of the toughest conferences in the country, and night in, night out, so we have a lot of respect for those guys, and we know how hard that they do play. So yeah, we've seen a few of the games.
Any other questions for the student athletes? Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thank you.